everyone. I'm Yasmin Taj, editor of the Economic Times International HR and CIO, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to this exclusive International Women's Day Roundtable on the topic DigitALL, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. This roundtable is brought to you by the ETHRWorld SEA team, along with Asia HRM and Asia HRM Women's Club, and is supported by National Human Resources Center and HRD Corp. The South Asian technology companies have a reason to pat their backs. The region employs more women in technology than any other nation. The average is fairly higher in terms of both the number of college graduates with technology degrees and the overall tech workforce. However, the picture is not complete. While the progress is great, the region has to further strengthen its efforts to reach true parity in the number of women employed in tech sectors as compared to other industries in the region. Further, as we move up the leadership ladder, the number of women representing C-suite roles and board positions shrinks. So as we celebrate International Women's Day, in today's roundtable discussion, we will delve into how we can get more women representation in tech and digital jobs, what are the challenges in building the talent pipeline for tech and jobs, and how can we close the gender gap in tech and digital leadership roles specifically. And to share their insights and views on this interesting topic today, we have with us Ashley Alexander, National Human Resource Center Research Fellow, HRD Corp, Malaysia; Ezra Wulaningrum, Head of People, Noise, Indonesia; Kamaldin Nordin, Senior Director, Human Resources, UNSEMI, South Asia Region; Melissa Notovididuko, Head of People Partner and Acquisition, MIFX Global; Rita Sui, President, Asia HRM and Asia HR Woman Club; Razman bin Radzi, National Human Resource Center Research Fellow, HRD Corp, Malaysia; Siafina Mitra Janna, VP Human Capital and GS Division, Eon Credit Services, Indonesia; and Wulan Rani, Human Capital Strategy Director, MIFX Global. So I would like to thank all our speakers for joining us today. It's a pleasure. I love the diversity in the group also, since we are going to discuss a very, very important topic. But before we delve into this conversation and discussion further, I would request Rita to share a few words and then we'll start. So Rita, over to you now.
Thank you, Yasmin. This is Rita Choi, President of Asia HRM and Asia HR Woman Club. Thanks ETHRWorld for organizing this roundtable discussion with us, together with supported by NHRC and HRDC, and as well as all the speakers today. The theme for today's session, as mentioned by Yasmin, is DigitALL, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. Nowadays, it's vital that women are given the opportunities, training, and resources traditionally offered to their male counterparts. In today's session, you will hear from our HR leaders, of which I'm one of them, about how organizations offer opportunities for women to pursue and advance tech-related careers by providing them with the chance to upskill themselves and foster a culture of belonging, to engage them, let them build confidence, and reach their personal and professional goals. Remember, when women rise, we all win. I look forward to a fruitful discussion today. Over to you, Yasmin.
Thank you, Rita. Wonderful thought. When women rise, we all win. I think it's time. And I love the fact that leaders across the globe, and especially Southeast Asia, are recognizing this fact that gender parity is so important, especially in tech and digital roles, and obviously in leadership positions and boardroom roles as well. So looking forward to some great thoughts. And I'd like to start the discussion right away. And Rita, I'm coming to you with my first question. So we are in 2023 already, and companies still aren't getting it right for women in tech. Sure, they're dangling high pay and remote work, and those are important, but that isn't enough. What do you think is the reason behind this?
Thank you, Yasmin. I think taking a break due to family issues for women is very common, especially in the tech industry. If they want to go back to the industry, the technology changes a lot. It made them more difficult. Just like I have a girlfriend who graduated with first honor in computer science in the university. After a few years, after a few years working as a software engineer, she wanted to take a long break due to family issues. And then after 15 years, she decided to go back to the industry. And you know what? After sending 300 letters to minimum 30 companies, after 1 year, she was able to find a job. What does it mean to us? For organizations, should we consciously offer equal opportunities to men and women? Should we, instead of just looking at the chat box and counting the number of years experience, should we evaluate them on a holistic approach, meaning that we look at their talents, we look at their attitude, their soft skills, and what they can bring to the table? To the women who really wanted to go back to the industry, would they really well prepare themselves, especially by keeping themselves abreast of the latest market trends and information, and also upkeep themselves with the latest knowledge and skills? Show to the company what they can bring and also the unique skills. By doing so, I'm sure that we can see more women in the tech industry. Thank you.
Great points, Rita. I think I do agree that, there's something missing from both the sides, be it the employer side or the employee side, if what I understand. While employers need to be more welcoming to people, to women returning to work, and women themselves also need to upskill themselves as to what has changed in the time they had taken that break, right? So that's very important. That's something that is missing. Safina, what are your thoughts on that? How do you think, what is missing in the whole tech industry, and why are we seeing fewer number of women?
Okay. Thank you so much, Yasmin. So in my perception, sometimes as we know, the tech industry is very fast-moving industry currently, not only like the FMCG, but this is the industry is like everything's supposed to be run and run and run. Sometimes we forget the simple things for the women, like only like a gift appreciation, and also make sure that the women not only about the perks like benefit and also flexi benefit like working from anywhere, but also that the company sometimes forget to give like a space and then construction, then review for the women. Like for instance, the only thing that, oh, okay, you have to do this. But as a women, all in Indonesia especially, women is like a mother than everything. Starting when we do the pandemic, in the pandemic, there is any like supposed to be work learning together with the kids, and then they have to do the everything in the same time. That is very difficult for the women, right? So I think to know each other and then know exactly how women supposed to be give the best effort for the company, and also the company also understand about the situation for the women.
Yes, I think I totally agree with you. I think balance, work-life integration balance, because women usually end up having more responsibilities at home as compared to their male counterparts. And I think we'll all agree to that. But that balance is required. How can employers, support, enable that kind of a work-life integration for women is going to be very important going forward. Melissa, I'd like to hear you next. What are your thoughts? What is it that's missing here?
Yep. Let me share my opinion from the perspective of the organization itself. So I believe what we have to do as a company or organization, we need to really consistently perform a gender-free situation, a gender-free organization, where applied a fair treatment for all people. So everything, practices, policies, the way we collaborate, the way we communicate, it's kind of equal, right? And then let's say the opportunity to leading a project is not only for men, but also supposed to be happen also for women, right? Making a decision for a team, being heard by the other team member or leaders, equal opportunity to build their skills, career, and extra income, get promoted, get same opportunity to grow the skill, have a learning and development perspective for each women, not only men. And I think the consistency in applying this kind of gender-free organization will be very important to make it right for women, also for others, I believe.
Great points, Melissa. I think, as you said, it's about having a gender-free organization. I love that term, that gender doesn't matter, roles matter, talent matters. I think that's what we need to look forward to. We need to give equal opportunity to women and then see whether they can perform. And, even they have to be heard, they have to be given that support, even by their male counterparts. So very great points. I now jump on to another question, which is going to be very interesting. And Rani, I'd like to hear you first on that. So according to a 2021 Women in Tech report by Trust Radius, around 72% of women in tech reported having worked at a company where bro culture is pervasive, manifesting in a variety of ways from an uncomfortable work environment to even sexual harassment and assault, that report found. So, as an HR leader, how are you creating a culture of belonging? And how can companies get women in tech to stay and flourish and feel comfortable, basically?
Thank you, Yasmin. Well, as an HR leader of the organization, I have the responsibility to create and maintain the positive culture, right? So, meaning that it is not only to creating but we also need to do the monitoring and then involve on all the process and make sure that even though we monitor the process, it will be very comfortable for all the employees. So it's the process that we need to build, and it is not an easy thing because we need to build it from time to time. I think something that can be highlighted on the way we create that and do that and deliver that is, as a woman leader, let's make sure that we are involved. We show an example how we put the boundaries about which one can be done, which one cannot be done, what is the punishment, what is the reward, how to protect each other. And the most important part is let's do the walk, the talk part. Because if we give example, people will follow. People will also see that, hey, my leader doing this, so I have to be doing the same things. Because otherwise it will not be happen if we didn't be the one who taking care. And lucky me that I have the girls part bigger because in my team is I only have like 2 male. So like Melissa knows how like the girl squad is really strong, and by the touch of the women, the mom's approach, it's really help all the team how we protect each other, and it also create the environment that it is no longer really felt to be bro culture, but more to the family culture. So we happy as a company together, but if someone make mistake, we know that there is a punishment that we have to do, right? So I think let's put ourselves to be the person that take in charge on all the process.
Great points, Rani. I think taking charge, drawing the lines at the right time, having the rules set in place as to what is comfortable, what is not, what can work, what cannot work, what needs to be punished, what needs to be rewarded. Very interesting points, actually. It is all about creating that environment, that culture where women in no matter what industry, we're talking about the tech industry, but I think in any other industry, it's important to have that comfort level where they can bring their best selves to work and feel comfortable in the way they are. Ezra, what are your thoughts on that? How do you think can we make it more better, more comfortable, a sense of belonging for everyone?
Yeah, thank you, Yasmin. Adding to Barani perceptions, in our organization, safety needs is a fundamental. So the second tier of the hierarchy of needs after the psychological and also the basic needs to reach the self-actualizations. So we always work for our hardest to create a safe place for women to thrive in our company, especially for noise. Any kind of harassment, assault, fraud, injustice, and other kinds of improper conduct centered to the woman are always unacceptable and in our monitoring. So we aiming to protect our female workers by cultivating the equality. And in noise, we have the noise days. Say something and you need to say something. So in noise days, we help our people. We call it as a noise meet, which is we encouraging to speak up in our employees whistleblowing programs. Whenever the violations is happening on the surface and we need to taking care of it very seriously and very will be in our first bucket to following up. And then the second thing is the equality and inclusivity are part of our culture, where we never differentiated worker by its sex and perceive male and females are equals. In fact, almost half of our senior level management, probably similar with the MI effects, we are above our women and they are top-notch leader. So nonetheless, we are aware the others might not be a privilege. We are to be in the state conditions, and to promote a culture of belonging, I think we need the DAI, which is the diversity, equality, and inclusivity. So the training is probably because in Indonesia, they are not aware about the training itself. So we as a HR leaders needs to provide them with the trainings. And then research found that training can help the building the awareness of barriers to DAI. It's also encourage workers to bring their full and authentic self to work. In addition to that, company must be invest to women, offering development opportunities, and also especially for the female leaders, and focus on building leadership competencies.
Great points, Ezra. I think I totally agree with you, and especially on the point that we have to train our leaders to become champions of DEI. I think that's very, very important, and it cascades down after that, right? If your leader believes in that, if they believe in equality and equity, if they believe in gender parity, somehow the company culture will become like that, because people tend to follow, they get inspired by their leaders. So great points there. Thank you so much for sharing. And now I'd like to hear the men in the room, because I haven't heard any one of them yet. So I'll come to you, Razvan, first. And a very interesting question here, because by failing to promote and retain women in technical roles, who are especially in the early stages of their careers, companies end up preparing very few women for senior roles. So according to you, what can be done, and how do we get the promotion and retention of women in tech roles right?
Okay, thank you, Yasmin. I believe that we should go back to the basics. And the basics would lie with the philosophy and the policies of an organization, because these are key to building up an ecosystems that promote equal opportunities. And in this aspect, talks about retention as well as promotion of women in the tech roles. So I would suppose that having such an ecosystem well built in will institutionalize the governance process. And that becomes self-awareness amongst the employers. Another aspect of it is the implementation. Having policies and having processes and frameworks remains a paper exercise if we don't get the implementation right. So what's next? I would say is education and engagement. We need to educate people, both the management and talent, about equal opportunities. And we do need to have processes and activities that provide continuous engagement for talents across the board to be aware of their rights and opportunities. Otherwise, this cycle of lesser promotion and retention of women will continue. So I would suppose, and I would take it that there are two parts to the coin, which is having the processes, the framework, the governance of it, and making the whole process alive by understanding and making it as a way of doing things. So that is my take from how we can address that situation.
Thanks, Razvan. I think it was a great point to make, that while one is putting the governance part in place first, whether you have the right policies, practices, whether you have the right rules and regulations when it comes to gender diversity and also equality and equity in the workplace. And secondly is are you already implementing that? So are organizations following what they've written in the book? I think that's very, very important to find out. Rani, do you have anything to add to that? How can we make it better when it comes to retention of women, promotion of women?
There is always the needs that we have a very balanced and strong team to work together. And I believe that with how we're focusing on diversity and inclusivity, that women will take part. And it's proven by what we have on our field right now, that all the position in our organization, especially, it's less with a woman. Only in human capital that we have a very strong on developing the women's part. And I believe it also not only in Indonesia and not only in our company, because when it comes to a very technical one, it's a bit difficult for them because they see that women usually not really strong and focusing on their career. So the best way for us is actually like how we as the HR person of the organization ready to help and support in terms of creating the environment that's supporting them. For instance, like what also Ezra mentioned, that maybe there's part of the process that women need to focus on the family, right? Like me and Melissa, both of us have like a young kids, and that creates something that we need to be focused on sometimes to our kids. I believe that how we create the situation, or the support system in the organization to make sure that the women can have the same opportunities, meaning the same opportunities not exactly meaning that they will do the way a men's do, but how they can get the opportunities to grow with all the barriers that they have on their life. That will be very important. How we can be very adjust and very nice on preparing everything to support them will be something that we can highlight from time to time.
I think I really like that point, that, what is the support system that women have in the organization that help them grow and not drop out? And even if they drop out, when you bring them back, how do you support them so that they grow into better roles, senior management roles also?
Agree.
That's going to be so important. I think that's where it matters. Ashley, what are your thoughts on that? How can we bring women at par in tech roles especially and help them grow for senior leadership roles?
Okay, thanks very much. Coming from a research organization, one of our questions is, well, what really is happening, and finding out what is happening. So moving beyond any kind of assumptions that we have and drilling down and getting the answers to be able to define, well, this is the current state, this is where we're at now, and these are the reasons from an employer's point of view that this is happening, and from an employee's point of view. So the more that we understand, I'm a great fan of the Steve Jobs quote where he says, if you can define the problem correctly, you almost have the solution. And so really getting into that understanding of what's going on is great. That's my first part, that to say, I don't think we have enough answers, and the answers aren't research-based enough to start to generate new solutions to it, in addition to what we have. But the second point is that businesses need to understand that they're missing a huge opportunity here. From a business perspective, if we go back to Rita's point earlier about her first-class honours graduate who was super bright and super able, and then found it a real barrier to live out the cultural norms, live out life and her duties and get into work. Well, ultimately, the loss isn't just hers, the loss is the company's. And that's where the impact is. So when we look at diversity and inclusion, from a corporate side, we're looking at, well, how can we help you achieve your commercial goals? Well, we can help you by firstly understanding what's happening, and secondly, through experimentation, finding different ways to get you the best team possible, and to make sure that you are bringing more women into these roles. That's kind of my take on it.
I think great points, Ashley. I think first of all, as you said, that companies first need to understand and do internal research to figure out where are they lacking, what's the missing piece there, why is it that women are either dropping out or not coming back, or why is it that women are not growing. And after that, as you very rightly mentioned, they need to understand that DEI makes business sense. It makes commercial sense to them. I think the moment that gets embedded in our minds as leaders, that having women in the workforce, that's 50% plus of the population working for you, it does make a lot of more business sense. So I think once that is sorted, a lot can be taken care of. Safina, your thoughts around how can we retain women better, promote them for better roles?
Hello, yes, thank you, Yasmin. Yes, I'm agree also with Pak Rasman and also Mbak Rani. So, and actually, of course, that I think first thing first, that the organization should be understand what they need, and then in terms of diversity, how they can allow women in the sometimes the women sometimes the organization like give not bad influence, but they not 100% trust that women can be in the man role. For instance, in the tech, for the CTO, as we know, like now it's mostly CTO is the man, right? So first thing first, that we have to give some room for the women to explore, and also we have to make sure that the gender not only give like how we give like we give the room, and also we know we create the system for the promotion is the same, and also give the same opportunity for them. I think that's the best way for we can give the opportunity for the women.
Yes, I think, and one point I'll catch on to from what Safina said was about the mindset, that whether women can play that part or not. I think the mindset also needs to be fixed somewhere, because we do tend to think at times, okay, this is not a woman's job, and oh, this is a man's job. I don't think there's any job which is meant for any gender anymore. So that's a great point. Thanks. Kamaldeen, I'm coming to you now. Please share your views.
Okay, first, to me, you have to have a structure so that the woman can voice. So I will talk about what my company doing. We have what we call Women Leadership Council. The one that leading the Women Leadership Council, not necessarily the one that have the greatest grade or the highest grade. It can be anyone. And they have a forum where actually they sit in our leadership meeting. So we know that we have a voice. That's one. The second, you must have things that you can measure. Things that you get measured normally get done. So in order to have a talent pipeline coming in, we have a goal that the talent acquisition must have at least 40% of the candidate, the final candidate, representing women. And that is measured, and their bonus are impacted by this. So even though at the end of the day, we don't measure, we don't have a quota that the woman must fill this job, but we know that we have enough representation. And the third thing is actually education, as what Razman says. We have a program that mandatory unconscious bias, leadership breakthrough for women. So I really like the unconscious bias where actually become mandatory training for all the managers.
Yes.
Bias sometimes is not really meant to be biased, but it is really unconscious. So putting all these together, the voice of the woman, measure the performance, even when come to the promotion every year, the rating, the distribution of merit, HR, we need to run a report whether we have unconscious bias in terms of the distribution of money, distribution of grade. So this is really help. We started this probably about 4 years ago, and then the women representation started going into the senior position has doubled from about 10-11%, now reaching about 26%.
Wow.
So it works, but you need to have a voice. Your action must be measured. I know we talk a lot about the concept, but if you don't operationalize it, it die at the concept level. Back to you, Yasmin.
Great point, Kamaldeen. I think, as you said, if you do not measure it, you do not see the impact of it, it'll die at the very beginning of it. Having that structure in place, again, that's the whole thing about intention, right? The intent of the organization, how seriously are they working towards DEI? And once you can deal with these kind of unconscious biases, when you can put that structure in place, you will see the results coming through and have more women play that role. I'll now again come to you, Ezra, and I would like to understand, how do you think can companies empower women to pursue careers in the tech industry? And if you could tell me about any special initiatives that your organization has taken up specially.
Yeah, thank you, Yasmin. Equality doesn't mean overlooking for women through an innate nature. For some women, they may have to juggle two responsibility at once, being a worker and also being a mom or a mother, right? Other than strictly prohibiting discriminative actions and misogynistic approach toward women, I think flexibility is what we can offer to them. We believe giving the right amount of flexibility and empathy will create an even safer place for women to bring out the best in them. When the right support is provided, productivity level will also grow exponentially, in my assumptions. This is well proven in the context of our organizations at Noise, especially. Also, to attract more women in tech, we need to first identify roles that lack female representations in the organizations. Subsequently, we can come up with the new roles, combine technical skills and interdisciplinary skills. Don't be afraid to nurture in exchange for a long-term investment. Once the team member is diverse and the talent pipeline is robust, I think we can concentrate to nurture female workers to develop on the roles that require solid technical expertise. That's the answer.
No, that's a great answer. I think I must agree. Firstly, if you can offer them, you cannot paint everybody with the same brush, as they said. So you have to customize things for them. If you want more women joining your workforce, especially in the tech industry, you have to customize, offer them that flexibility, offer them that empathy, those kind of roles, those opportunities to grow. I think more than equality, it's about equity, if I've understood you, Ezra, right? What matches to their expectations and aspirations also. So great point. I would love to hear, Melissa, your thoughts also around this.
But I think Ashley raised his hand.
Yes, Ashley, please go ahead. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Melissa. So I just wanted to jump in on those points, because something that I would say is that these are initiatives which are part of it is when people are running the initiatives, it's to have a structured way to share what is working. I was listening firstly to Kamaldeen and then Ezra, and in both cases, you're saying, well, you're actually doing things that are working, and so that can be the benefit that is shared with others, so that everyone has kind of got a start point if they don't have one. So if you can, Kamaldeen talked about the percentage and the success that is being seen there. So that's exactly the kind of area where we can cite that as points of reference to motivate and inspire others and say, well, this is how you do it, and this is the combination of it as a start point. So in both cases, I just raised the hand to say, that's great learning, and thanks very much.
Great, thanks, Ashley. Yes, Melissa, I'd like to hear you next.
Okay, so how to empower women, right? So basically, like Ezra mentioned, and offer support. And from the human capital or HR perspective, one of it open a discussion with the head of division, let's say creating a role that not only men can handle it, but also women talent outside can handle it too. Aside from that, maybe referring to what Kamaldeen said about the unconscious gender bias, it happens where let's say the managers mentioned that my current staff is my staff currently is pregnant, and because of that she cannot do a travel while it's required for the job. So can we have an additional headcount, because it will takes quite a long time, right? And in that part, we can support, or let's say challenge the manager by saying, are you sure that these staff ladies, these women really cannot do the travels? I mean, it's kind of the manager is not be gender biased, right? But unconsciously, this guy think that when a woman are pregnant, then she cannot do anything.
Yeah.
So the support and controlling on that unconscious gender bias will be very important in this part.
I think that's a great point. And I think if I can add to Melissa, not just men, I think women also have those unconscious biases.
The women also, exactly.
Yeah, I've seen it so many times that even female managers and okay, now she'll take a break. Okay, now she will not be able to work as much. So people tend, I think it's just societal. I think it's just there somehow. And we need to fight that if we want to encourage more women, empower more women to join tech roles, especially, which is a very challenging industry. It's a challenging job to do. I think that's what is required. And Ezra very nicely said, the flexibility, if we can give them, the empathy, if we can understand what is working for them. Also, it's about firstly figuring it out what is working for them and aligning it to the way we want to work, right, as organizations. That's going to be a great point. So thanks for sharing that. Any other points, Ashley, you'd like to add to how we can have more women join careers in tech industry? How can we empower them more?
Sure. In some ways, it links to a previous point about making the business case to businesses on why it's so useful. If we know that, for example, 50% of the users of technology are female, then we know that it's really disproportionate in terms of who's creating it. So there's, in one sense, there's the business case, and sometimes it's continual progress. And so saying, to raise awareness, to get companies with initiatives, and some are already doing it, to raise awareness in schools and actively invest in raising awareness so that girls in schools see that that is a viable career path. Then you've got the kind of chicken and egg situation of having enough role models, because that's really important, that if people see the role models, then they can say, that's it. And that's where one of the things you can do is shine the spotlight more on, even if it's a smaller number of women who are in those key roles, CTOs, whatever it is, shine the spotlight on them and have part of their role as an ambassador. So that's kind of my take on it, is it's raising awareness of the opportunities. And that's the main thing. If someone, then you excite someone in the room, someone that's got, I want to do that, then it just shifts, and it makes that gradual shift. And it takes away from a culture where sometimes it's reported that the tech industry is tough, it's tougher, and that there's maybe a double standard that has been felt for by women when they're reporting it. And you say, well, okay. And the final part of that is really strongly encourage women entrepreneurs, and you can incentivize that financially through governments, to launch tech companies, so that the women in tech are actually the business owners. And that kind of is another way of really shifting the balance, and shifting the balance in a way that ultimately serves the end users, which are 50% kind of. So that's my take on it.
Great points, Ashley. I think this point that 50% of tech users are women, so it actually makes sense that women do those jobs better, and raising awareness. And also the best point that you said was about creating those role models that kind of encourages that other women can look up to and see, oh, okay, if that can be possible, so can I be in that position. So those are going to be very important. What kind of examples are you setting in the organization to encourage more women to join tech industries? So that's a great thought. Thanks, Ashley. It's now time for my final question, and I'll come to each one of our speakers today. But since Rita, I started with you, and you gave us an example of a friend who dropped out and could not get the jump start once again. I'd like to hear from you, your suggestion or your message to women who wish to take up a career in technology, but give up due to various reasons. What suggestion, what tip would you give to them?
Dream big, pursue them. Don't give up. Upkeep yourself with the latest knowledge and skills at all times. Spend time recognizing and developing your unique skills. Work on getting win-win opportunities rather than fighting for rights and what we don't have. And lastly, when women have got the chance, they should make themselves indispensable. Let our work speak for us. That the company will do everything to keep us. That's my
Great points, Rita. Great. I'd love to hear everybody before I comment on that. I'll come to you, Razman, next. What advice, what message would you like to give to women? You're on mute, Razman, sorry.
Okay, I think I would like to echo what Rita said, to persevere, because legislation and laws are evolving as values and priorities change. For example, in Malaysia, the law has mandated organizations to implement flexible working arrangements effective January this year. So what it does is provide flexible options for women with other responsibilities or priorities to continue to be productive to the organization. And at the same time, it will evolve the organization to be more outcome-driven rather than process-focused. Otherwise, if the dropout rate continues, it's going to be a huge opportunity cost to the economy where women see themselves as no longer productive. So stay driven and persevere, because values and the laws are changing.
Yes, great. Thanks, Razman. Thank you so much. Kamal, then I'd like to hear you next.
Yep. The first is actually the talent pipeline. The pool must be big in order to get the end results, right?
Yeah.
So we need to create the pool. The woman needs to join the pool and in the technology career. And a research been done by leading women institution that what missing, they call it 33% missing, is the business skill. You are good at people skill, you're good at professional skill, but you are missing the business skill. So after you get into industry, you must get the business skill. Then you will flourish and become the member of the board. Business skill is the 33% that women is missing. So focus on the business skill on top of the people and the professional competence.
Great thoughts. Thanks, Kamal. Thanks. I'd like to hear you, Rani, next.
So my message actually like, girls, don't be afraid to chase your dream. You can do it. Let's support each other. If you don't see the opportunities, create one for you. Make sure that you keep yourself upskilling and reach higher. And remember that you deserve to be the better version of yourself.
Lovely. Great. Thanks, Rani. Thank you. Siafina, what about you? What message would you give?
Hi, yes, thank you, Yasmin. My message is for the women of the world. So first is we are unique. So don't be afraid. Agree. We have to day by day we have to upskill our skill and then our knowledge. And also the last is we have to believe that we can do it as long that we want.
Yes. Great. Thank you so much. Great point. Melissa, what about you?
Everyone already said everything, but then let me say it like this. So girls, ladies, women, everywhere, take the opportunities, right? Create it, aim high, and be the true you.
Lovely. Great. Thank you. Ezra, your turn.
All right. I'm a bit different. Probably I will put some of little research. According to the UN Women, bringing women and other marginalized groups into technology result is more creative solutions and has the greater potential for innovations that meet women's needs and promote the gender equality. As a matter of fact, lack of inclusions comes with massive costs. As per UN Women's Gender Snapshot in 2022 report, women's exclusions from the tech has saved $1 trillion from the gross cosmetic products of low and middle. So ladies, the world needs more female workers in the tech industry, so keep up.
Yes, lovely, great, thanks. And Ashley, coming to you finally, what key message would you give to women for more to join the tech workforce?
Well, I'd say challenge assumptions. If you see the problem, then become part of the solution. And I say we are living in a digital world, so you can shape it.
Yes, lovely. Great. Thank you. On that note, I think it's time to wrap up this discussion, but there was such interesting viewpoints coming on. I think, first of all, what's the most important thing that we learned today was that having more women workforce in tech industry, in tech roles makes business sense. Firstly, it makes commercial sense. They are unique. They bring their own set of talents to the industry that they're working for. We need to support women. We need to hear them. We need to create that kind of a safe environment for them, so that they can bring their best selves to work, so that they do not drop out, so that they have the psychological safety. So we have to have the right governance. We have to implement the right policies and practices. We have to figure out what is missing in our organization first, because if we can bring that together from the employer perspective, the employee perspective, we can get work-life integration in place. We can support women. We will have a gender-free organization, give those kind of opportunities, especially flexibility and empathy, so that women could join more tech roles. I think that's the way forward for us. And as everybody here has echoed here, women are unique. Women need to dream big. They have their aspirations. You just have to be out there. Don't step back. Don't think that there's something missing. And if you see role models, follow them, inspire others, also support each other as women. That's the way forward to have more women in tech roles. Any other closing notes? Rita, would you like to say anything before I say goodbye to everyone?
Thanks all again. That is a great session. I'm sure that you have received a lot of nuggets of wisdom from everyone of here, and I look forward to having the same roundtable discussion again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rita. On that note, once again, thank you so much. I'm wishing everyone a very happy International Women's Day. It's all about power, women power. I think it's all about equality, equity, diversity, recognizing that women do make a difference. So I think that's our message for everyone listening in today. Thank you once again to all our speakers for joining us. It was a wonderful conversation. So thank you, take care, and bye-bye.
Thank you so much.